Hello, welcome back, and in today's video I'm going to give you 10 summary book recommendations that leave you with no excuse not to read this summer. I've got something for everyone. I've got romance, romantasy, fantasy, thrillers, and just some general great books that you should be reading this summer. So let's get into it. Starting off with, of course, an Emily Henry book. Emily Henry is my favourite romance author in the entire world, and I feel like Funny Story is just the summariest book. This follows Daphne and Miles, and basically Daphne's fiance leaves her for Miles's girlfriend, so basically their exes are now together, so they then move in together and they both get an invitation to the wedding, which then basically sets up a bit of a fake dating situation to try and make Daphne and Miles's exes feel a certain type of way, not necessarily jealous, but just a bit like, ooh, awkward. In doing that fake dating situation, things develop, and obviously it's a very like awkward living situation. Like, Daphne and Miles are very different people. I really like this book because they're very realistic, like they're very real, normal people, and there's a lot of navigation of like heartbreak, new beginnings, learning about each other, learning about themselves, etc. It's a really good read. I really recommend. Next we have Collide by Balka Harborough, and I feel like Balka Harborough is a bit of an underrated author. I love this hockey romance so much. I had to include a hockey romance because I feel like hockey romances are just so summery. Our main female character, Summer, is a sports psychology student, and she absolutely hates hockey, but she's forced to work with the hockey captain Aidan on a project together, which then kind of develops into a little bit of a story. So kind of slow burn, enemies, not enemies to lovers, but like hate to love. There's some found family in here. There's a lot of banter. Like, this was a very giggly, kind of literally laughing out loud type of book for me. I really enjoyed it. And then I read Spiral, which is the second book in this series. Loved it. And I have, where is it? Revolve on my TBR for this summer. Next we have The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. I really enjoy Ashley Poston, and she is an author I really want to get to this summer. This follows Florence Day, who is a ghostwriter, and she basically goes through a bad breakup and no longer believes in love, and she basically has a new editor called Benji, refuses to give her an extension on her book deadline. A tragedy strikes within Florence's family life. Her father passes away and she has to return home, and she sees a ghost. So she's a ghostwriter who can see ghosts, and she has to write this book, but because she doesn't believe in love, she's really struggling. So it kind of follows that, and oh my gosh, this book was insane. This was a proper, I could not put it down, so invested in the story. I think I read it in like 2 sittings, really easy to read. It's not necessarily summery, like if anything it may even be a bit more Halloween-y because she, you know, has this whole situation, but I really enjoyed this book, and I think because I read it last summer and it gave me such summery vibes, it's a summery read. Next we have The Conditions of Will by Jessa Hastings. Jessa Hastings is one of my summer authors. I started reading the Magnolia Park series last summer, loved it, still reading it, but love it, and this book was one of my top books for last year. This book follows Georgia, who can basically read people's body languages, and she has to go home for a family tragedy again, and she has a very bad relationship with her family, a very like just tense relationship with her family, and she basically ends up having a crush on literally probably the complete wrong person she should. Her father passes away, and follows the whole family relationship between like navigating that, navigating his death. There's some history that comes up. There's a very big like division in their family. There's a lot of emotions in their family, and then there's also this small romance blooming with very much someone she shouldn't be having romantic feelings for. It's another one of those books which I just could not put down. Like, I was obsessed. Jessa Hastings, I feel like, is such a captivating author. She just knows how to write a book which you can't put down. I think for summer reads, having something that just like grips you is perfect, and all of these books had me literally unable to stop page turning. Next, I actually don't have the physical copy of this book, but I do definitely want it because it's one of my all-time favourite books, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Taylor Jenkins Reid, again, one of my favourite authors. I just recently read Atmosphere. Another summary read I recommend actually. Atmosphere was a 5-star. It was incredible. And Taylor Jenkins Reid's The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo was the first book I read from her. Another 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-star read. It was incredible. And this book basically follows a girl interviewing Evelyn Hugo, who is a Hollywood actress, but basically disappeared off the face of the planet like 20 years ago. And our main female character, who I can't remember her name, but wants to kind of uncover the lore behind Evelyn Hugo. And Evelyn Hugo agrees to tell her life story. There's a lot which is surprising, a lot which we find out. There's a lot of plot twists in there. It's very like glamorous, it's very heartbreaking. There are some really like heart-wrenching, such emotional stories in there, but it's such a beautiful read, such a beautiful read. The ending made me cry. I just feel like this is a holiday read. Perfect. Like, this is a book that I really want to reread. Next, onto a romantasy/fantasy. I could not include this book. This is my favourite book of all time. I have a tattoo regarding this book. I hate to be one of those girlies because I know it's stereotypical, but Fourth Wing, I feel like if you're looking for, especially like an introduction to romantasy, or if you want something that's like Harry Potter but better, this follows Violet Sorrengail, and basically this is like Hogwarts but older and dragons. And then there's Zayden Ryerson, who's the most beautiful man that's ever been created by anyone. I love Zayden Ryerson so much. But yeah, this is dragons, a college, trials, enemies to lovers, a war, family dynamics, family drama, different types of magic, there's signets, there's powers, there's everything you want from a fantasy is in this book. It's fast paced, there's such beautiful relationships and friendships. This follows Violet, who basically goes to Basgaith College, who her mother is the like headmaster of. She expected to be like a writer/scribe, but basically gets forced into the Dragon Riders fighters place, team, guild, I don't know. She basically is training to be a dragon rider. Everyone kind of sees her as the girl who is like going to be favourite, but also she's very weak. She has to kind of navigate, she has to fight, she has to train herself, and then also she has a very, very bad relationship with Zayden because of something that happened between their families. And yeah, if you want an introduction to romantasy, or if you've seen this and haven't read it, I genuinely promise you, I bet my entire life everything on this book being one of your favourite reads of the year. Staying on the romantasy, dragons, romantasy era and fantasy era, The Zodiac Academy. Now this is a very long series, like a very long, I think there's like 14 books or 12 to 14 books, but I think it's such a good, again, introduction to romantasy, and also such a kind of easy fantasy romantasy to read because it's not super lore-y. Like, there's world building and there's characters and there's loads of storyline. Obviously there's so many books, there's loads and loads of storyline, but I think it's one of the easiest romantasies I've ever read because I think the authors have done such a good job to keep things very straightforward and explain things very well if you get lost in the books, because there are so many, there's so much to remember. And Zodiac Academy is again in an academy, so like a college situation, and it follows two twins who were living in the mortal realm but basically get told and they find out that they are the queens of the magical world, and they have to basically come and fight for their thrones against these other heirs and very strong magical dragons, wolves, vampires. There's all the fantasy elements in this book. They basically have come into the magical realm and they have to find their feet, train, see if they have magical powers, see what their magical bits and bobs are. It's such a fun, funny, very humorous series, and I just absolutely love it. Like, it's the Zodiac Academy book 5 is my next read, and I'm so excited to read it. They're also all on Kindle Unlimited in the UK, so if you're looking for a Kindle read for summer, definitely recommend the Zodiac Academy books. Next, going back to romance, I do feel like summer is a very romance book time, but we have Abby Jimenez, Say You'll Remember Me. This is the only Abby Jimenez book I've read, and I really want to read more this summer. I think Abby and Ashley Poston are probably two of my top romance authors I want to read this summer because they gave me such good vibes when I read them last summer. For a very quick synopsis, Samantha basically finds a cat on the side of the street which needs medical attention, so takes the cat Is it cat? Yes. Takes the cat to the vet, meets Xavier. Xavier's like, ooh, that cat's gonna have to be put down. Samantha's like, not our sister, I will raise money for the surgery that the cat needs. Raises the money, brings the cat back. Xavier asks her out on a date. They have an incredible first date. Really good 24 hours. And then Xavier's like, ooh, I'm moving. Oh no, Samantha is like, ooh, I'm moving back to my family hometown because her mother isn't very well. And it basically follows them long distancing, figuring out their romantic relationship and if there is a romantic relationship there. This book just has every kind of thing you want in a romance book. It's very humorous. It's a very smiley, giddy, kicking your feet type of read. So I definitely recommend this. It's also very summery. Like even the cover is giving summer. Next I have a thriller, which obviously I had to have a thriller in this video, and I have Dear Debbie by Freida McFadden, which is the last Freida McFadden book I've read. I obviously do love Freida McFadden. I'm just a girl. Dear Debbie was such an interesting read. I feel like it was a really different vibe from what Freida McFadden usually does. Debbie, our main female character, basically writes an advice column for women, mothers, women in general. But behind that, Debbie's own life is very much falling apart. Her husband loses his job, and like just a lot of family issues going on in her home. And basically Debbie has decided to stop being the bigger person, and it's such a interesting, mind-boggling read. Like everything I thought I knew, I never knew. I was constantly shocked. And I feel like in most thriller books there's obviously like 3/4 or kind of towards the end there's one big plot twist, whereas I feel like in this book there were like 3 or 4 smaller but still as shocking plot twists. Like I really enjoyed the fact that I thought I was knowing where I was going, and then I was like, oh, never mind, now I know where I'm going, oh, never mind. Like it was kind of keeping me on my toes throughout the whole book. Very digestible. I feel like Freida McFadden, she's so popular because she is very easy to understand. Like she's not a confusing thriller author, if that makes sense. I really, really liked Dear Debbie, so I definitely recommend Dear Debbie. And lastly, which I know is all over the social medias at the moment, but I do definitely think it's worth the read, I have Yesteryear. I actually read this in my last video, so if you want to see me read this, you can go watch that. This book was a crazy time. I did really enjoy this. This follows a mother who is a vlogger or like very famous like influencer, and she is giving off that very Christian cottagecore like lovely lifestyle, but basically her life is an absolute shambles behind that. And it follows a day in her life of like very perfect, and then that's kind of the prologue, and then the first chapter she wakes up in a different reality. It's like her life but different, and everything is completely horrific basically. And we follow the background to where she got to with her whole influencer being like the internet's mother, and then also the storyline of where she is now in this different reality. So I definitely recommend this. I think this is not even a thriller. I still don't actually know what this genre is. I'll put on screen what genre this is because I don't actually know, but it was a very, very interesting read. I was absolutely hooked. Like I read 150 pages or something in like one sitting. Like I was in this book, and I really, really recommend. And those are 10 books I really recommend you read this summer. I need to find my own summer reading list, so if anybody has any recommendations for what I should add to my summer reading list, please let me know. Please do subscribe. I post all sorts of bookish content over here, and hopefully I'll see you next Saturday for another video. Kisses and hugs. Bye. Bye.